Forget gurus. Forget anyone claiming to be an online business expert without going through the challenges of entrepreneurship themselves. The Real Money, Real Business podcast is here to prove the best insights in online business comes from your fellow online business builders. We dig into stories of entrepreneurs selling their business on the Empire Flippers marketplace so that you can learn how they made their business profitable, how they overcame obstacles, and what lessons they learned in their online journey. If you want to take your business and your knowledge to the next level, you've come to the right podcast. Let's get started.
Hey everyone, welcome to the Real Money, Real Business podcast. I'm Lauren, and today we have Jan on the show, who's selling an Amazon KDP business on the Empire Flippers marketplace. Hey Jan, welcome to the show. How are you doing today?
Hi, I'm pretty all right. Thank you.
Good to hear. Well, thank you so much for taking the time to talk to me, and I'm looking forward to learning more about your business. But before we dive in, I'm going to give the listeners a brief summary of the business so they know what we're talking about. This is an Amazon KDP business. It was created in January 2014, and it's in the education and personal development niches. The average revenue for the business is $6,515 per month, and it makes an average of $5,360 per month in net profit. For anyone listening, you can visit empireflippers.com/marketplace and search for listing number 74810 to learn more about this business. Or you can unlock this listing to start your due diligence if you're interested in purchasing the business. So without any further ado, let's get into the interview. Jan, can you fill us in on your background in starting and running online businesses?
For sure. Actually, I started pretty early on when I was about 15 or 16. We were blessed with this really fast internet connection. It was fiber, which at that time was something like NASA grade almost, because I come from Eastern Europe. And since my parents wouldn't let me play video games that much, I would just look for options on what to do. And I was being very curious. And I started going to message boards and early forums at that time. And I realized that, well, you can actually make money on the internet. And I started enrolling in some opportunities that obviously most of them were scams, which I didn't know. But it was a great lesson telling me that, well, if you want to take shortcuts, most likely it's not going to work. But then I started creating my first, well, maybe affiliate website sounds a bit too much for my early ventures. But I remember that at one time when I was still in secondary school, I was making about like $50 to $100 a month on my first affiliate websites, which for me at that time was a great success. And from then on, I realized that, well, this is something to be explored further. And it kind of became my obsession and my dream to build something on my own. Because I think I've always been this kind of free spirit and I didn't want to have 9-to-5 jobs and all that. And it started early on from then. And sometimes I would stop to focus on my education and so on. But finally, after graduating from university, I went back to my efforts and I started focusing on building something. And then I came to find the KDP opportunities and it started.
Awesome. Okay, so what made you branch away from affiliate and into KDP?
First of all, I think I never was diagnosed, but maybe I have some kind of ADHD. I'm very curious and sometimes it's just hard for me to focus on one thing. I want to do everything at once. This is the first reason. Well, then my parents are pretty old school and, they were trying to kind of force me to, focus on my education, to be an engineer or doctor or all that stuff, So I did, which I hated. But my biggest problem with affiliate was that, and blogs and all that, was that even though I loved writing and I would always have the best grades at school from the language classes and all that, it was pretty unstable. Like I remember getting to these like 50 US a month, which at the time was something amazing to me. And then it just disappeared overnight like that. Just Google changed some algorithms or my competition got stronger and I realized, okay, I spent like 6 months just being a nerd and not going out with my friends and just working on this because I was so passionate and it just disappeared. And then I met more friends online and in real life in my hometown. And we shared similar experiences like, it's kind of I know this is the problem with most big platforms, that they can change overnight to some extent, but I think the Google CEO algorithm, at least at the time, maybe something changed. I don't even know because I stopped following this kind of business, but I didn't think it was very stable, right? And then I started studying like what can be done. YouTube wasn't the thing at that time. The further I looked, I realized, okay, maybe I should just, look for another platform. And it wasn't until many years later that I discovered KDP and Amazon. Thanks to my sister, by the way.
Yeah, the Google algorithms have been going crazy lately, so you probably made a good move. Given the success that you've had with this business, why have you decided to sell it now?
The first reason being is that I honestly got burned out. Like when I first started with the self-help books, because I studied sociology, I wanted to study psychology as well, but I didn't for some reason. And I was really passionate. I just wanted to solve my own problems and then start helping other people. But what happened was that at some point, like maybe after 5 years or something, I really lost the passion and my first motivation. Like I think other than helping other people and building something on my own, my biggest motivation was to, quit my 9 to 5 that I didn't like. I was a headhunter. It was stressing me out and I didn't like the corporate setting, and the boss and all that and commute to work and this, the blizzards and snowstorms and all that. I just wanted to work from home. And then when I finally got that, I started making really good money in like 6 months. I realized that as years passed by, I kind of started losing the passion. I think it was because what I really like is building something from scratch, seeing it grow. And then as I realized my goals, I kind of lost the passion. That's the first thing. Other than that, the biggest reason right now, because I was thinking as well, just leaving the business be and just collecting the passive income it generates. But what happened is that I bought a house in Mexico where I live right now. I had to buy it with cash. It was a pre-sale. And I actually spent all of my money, all of my savings from 10 years on this house. Also, I had some troubles with a bank at that time, and I just lost the cash flow. And I got in debt with my family and some friends. And also I have some overdue taxes in Europe to regulate. And I just need cash, to be honest. And also, I think my attention and my passion shifted, my interest shifted from writing to more in the direction of creating music. I love music. My parents are musicians. I just shifted focus at one point. And I believe that my best books would come out. The most successful ones were actually, I was really in love with the niche and with the business. And then as the passion faded to some extent, it started costing me doing the repetitive tasks. Because it's a great business, it's very stable, but at the same time, to be honest, it's not that very interesting, right? It's not being Tony Robbins on the stage and making people excited. And even though I've been receiving many emails from people thanking me for saving their lives, like it was so beautiful to read these emails from people who I know got out from prison and started changing their lives, stopped drinking, stopped, taking drugs, stopped cheating their families and so on. It was so beautiful to read, but I felt like it wasn't motivating me enough because, I just wanted to make music. I just wanted to travel and just naturally, I think my focus shifted. But yes, actually, one of the biggest reasons right now is that I really need cash on my bank account to regulate the overdue taxes, which in that country, which is Southern European country, is very lazy and nobody's very eager to collect the taxes. Even though I wanted to pay on time, nobody would do their job. It's like you go there and they sip coffee and smoke cigars in the office and nobody cares really. But I really need to do this, because it's fines and such. And I'm not used to being in debt. And also I've been presented with many very interesting real estate opportunities. And the last reason, other than needing cash for this, is that also I want to start a new business. This needs cash as well. So there's like investments to be made that can escape me. If I don't act on time, I can't because I don't have cash. And it's very hard for me to grow a new business while maintaining this one. Like, even though it doesn't need that much attention, I'm this kind of person who can't really juggle or, throw many balls at once. I just need to solely focus on one single direction. And I treat this account like my baby. I just want to find somebody who is as passionate about the niche as I used to be, and who will, focus on it and make sure it's going to grow and help more people. I would hate to see it, go down. And I just want to focus 100% on new opportunities and new directions that I choose to take.
Yeah, absolutely. That makes a lot of sense. As you say, this business model, it can get quite repetitive after a couple of years, especially when there's so many exciting new opportunities to chase. Let's have a look at sort of the structure of your business. Were you using PPC or listing description SEO to help drive traffic to your books?
I think what works best actually is Amazon advertising, because it is a pretty hermetic system. And yes, it can work, and it works driving traffic from the outside. As I mentioned in the frequently asked questions, one of the examples could be TikTok, which is extremely popular. I honestly kind of dislike it, but I understand that there's many people on it, many young people as well, and it works. And it's pretty easy to create content because it's very short. You can even use AI to help you, give you ideas and all of that, which obviously I don't use for my books, but it can be done. It can be easy, but mostly I use Amazon advertising. So that would be the first one. Then there's my mailing list that I built over the years, which is around 17,000 readers. And I'm pretty proud of it because the open rates are pretty nice. And also, as I mentioned before, I've been receiving many emails from people all over the world telling me that, thanking me and all that. And yeah, that's been a really beautiful experience. So you can use the mailing list to drive traffic to books that you launch. It really helps. And other than that, I think the third biggest pillar would be the promotional websites. There's many. There's like Bargain Booksy and all of that. Of course, I can give all the big list of all the websites that I use to the potential buyer. And also there's something called BookBub Ads. They offer many kinds of advertising that is a bit similar to Amazon advertising, a bit simpler. What I do is I pay for every 1,000 views. You set the bid as well. And when you do promotions, which I would encourage to regularly, you can use that. And it really helps as well. And there is also some other services and other, book promotions. And sometimes only because I re-promoted or promoted book heavily as I launched it, I actually received some propositions, some offers from traditional publishing houses, which also makes me proud because it tells me that the content that I produced was really high quality, right? Because it got published in Italy, it got published in India, in the Indian subcontinent. Recently, I received an offer from Arabic publishing house and so on and so forth. So these three would be the biggest sources of traffic. And as we are at that, I work, as we speak, these days I work on optimizing and rebuilding all of my campaigns. So like 2 months ago, and this also shows in the PL spreadsheet, something that looks like a dip was caused by me disabling all of the ads as I realized that the cost per click is getting pretty high. And I'm testing out new strategies, which of course I can share with the buyer and will share with the buyer as well. And they seem to work and reap more benefits every day. And I believe this is a good direction to take. And also branching out to other Amazon departments, which I didn't do before, because you can also start advertising on Canada, UK, and it seems to work because the cost per click is way lower, right? And also what I didn't do and I want to do as well, and I encourage to do, would be to do the translations of the bestsellers. I only have one, but I've seen, because I have many friends in the same business, Shan Dolwat being one of them, and he has this great YouTube channel that I also recommend when it comes to strategy for KDP and Audible. So to translate all the bestsellers, right, and then start advertising them on Amazon Spain and Italy and France and so on and so forth, where again the clicks are way cheaper and there's less competition and it just seems to work. So that would be my answer in short, if it answers that.
Yeah, no, absolutely. You mentioned some really good resources there, as well as some awesome growth opportunities that the buyer can tap into. You mentioned that you've received some good recognition for your content. So it certainly sounds like you put a lot of value into creating high quality content. Can you walk me through the process of how you do that, from how you come up with ideas for books all the way through to the end of the creation?
Sure. So one of the reasons or my biggest inspirations or motivations, because, well, as you can imagine, I love books. And one of the best books I read on any kind of business was The Millionaire Fast Lane, which the title might be a bit cheesy, but it's a very legendary book for many entrepreneurs by MG DeMarco, where he explains that the best way to actually make good money is by focusing on solving people's problems, right? So I took that approach very early on. And what I would do would be that go on Amazon, first see what sells in the niche, right? See the trends, then to see what was missing in those books. What I would do would be to read negative reviews, actually, which not that many people do, and see what the complaints are, and then work on improving these issues, right, in your book. For example, people complaining that it's hard to read, or it's too long, or it's too short, and didn't cover this or that. So this will be one thing. Other than that, I use, other than just being on Amazon and selling what's trending, what's popular, what people want to read, and how I can help them, would be to look for trending keywords as well. And sometimes I would start with that, like actually see what keywords have the biggest traffic and what people look for. And then going from there, I would elaborate the outline of the book. And then I write the book by myself, which I did. Later on, I started working with freelancers as well, with writers who are in love with the niche, with psychology and such, and self-help. And just give them outline. Like, for example, this and that keywords are trending. Would think, let's brainstorm what kind of book we can build on that, right? And focus on helping people, and then go from there. So the process, in short, would be like look for the problem to solve, look for the keywords and try and match the keywords of what's trending or categories that are trending with the problem to solve, right? Then I would create a short outline. As I mentioned, I never used like ChatGPT or any AI to create books, actually, because it's against Amazon terms of service, and I don't believe in that as well. But these days you can use AI to just help you create outline, right? Like give you ideas and maybe some things that you overlooked or what can be improved. And then you can either, well, if the buyer is a writer as well, or they just can work with my team. Of course, I have 2 writers, 2 editors, and we can cover that as well. And just go from there and then create cover. I have people for that as well, create audiobook and such. And which is something which is actually great about this business. What I love is that other than the products being digital, right, you don't suffer from broken chains of supply and such like people did when COVID struck and all the lockdowns. But what is great is that you create one book, one product, right, like ebook, and then you create paperback, and then you create audiobook. So like you just kind of pay for one product creation process, and then you go from there and you have 3 products or more, because you can create hardcover as well, which I didn't, which is also a direction to grow on Ingram Sparks and other websites, right? And you can go from there. You can then create TikTok content from the book parts. You can create YouTube videos, which I didn't because, again, I didn't have time. Yeah, there is many options to grow as well. But this would be the processes in short. Of course, I can elaborate on that further if you want, or when a potential buyer.
No, I think that's a very interesting process. I like the fact that you start by looking at the negative reviews, sort of how to outsmart and outperform your competition. I think that's a very clever approach. You mentioned that you work with other people throughout the creation process. Where do you source these people from? Are they employees or freelancers? And can you walk us through just a quick overview of everyone you work with?
Sure. I mostly look for them on Upwork because it's been pretty big platform with lots of people to choose from, lots of talents to choose from. You can also go with this premium option where you are given a person to help you to look for anybody you need. They will go through the listings, through the applications, right? And sometimes even talk to the people and just help you. I think it's called Diamond option or something. I don't remember. Yeah, but it's mostly Upwork, or sometimes it's people per hour, which is way smaller and the quality is hit or miss. But I think it's very important to like talk to the people, actually interview them like you would for any kind of business, like big corp type of business or anything like that, which I didn't to begin with, suffered some losses, financial losses, because the quality wasn't there. And when the quality wasn't there, I just wouldn't publish the book. I would just take a loss and then move on. So basically, I create a listing on job offer on Upwork. Then I go through the applications. While I work for new writers, I actually, these days, I work with my editor. She's from the US. She's very good. She's been editor all her life, and she goes through the books and she tells me if the quality is there or not. She's being very critical, I think, in a good manner. I think it's very important to be critical because, on Amazon, anybody can review, right? So if the book is just bad, there you will get bad reviews and books won't sell. So right now I have two writers. They are both British. They are instructed to mostly use American spelling because most sales still are the market, of course, US market. Then I have two American editors. All of them mentioned are females. For some reason, I really love working with women. Maybe because my first job, I was the only guy and I was the mascot or something. And they're very, very meticulous and with great attention to detail. Then I have audiobook narrator. I was looking for somebody that would kind of sound like Tony Robbins. It was like my early inspiration to start creating. I don't follow him anymore, but when I was young, I loved his products, his books. So I found a narrator from voice talent from, I think, Appleton or somewhere close to New York. And he's a great voice and very professional, doesn't charge too much. I've heard that now there's this option of creating AI voicing with accordance to Amazon terms of agreement, but I never tried this and I don't think I will. I just prefer working with people. But just to mention that it's an option to save up on this, but I wouldn't. So I have these. Then there is my friend. She's Polish as well, but she's British Polish. She's a great copywriter. She creates copies for my books. She's always happy to take more work and happy to help and suggest. She's also sometimes helping with email campaigns and such. I think she's really talented. Yeah, cover creator. Now I'm actually looking for a new one. I can still give out the contact for my original cover creator. She's from Ukraine and she's really great. She's extremely professional. Like, this is a sad story, but very motivating. Like, she's from one of the cities that were heavily bombarded and just destroyed totally. And as they were bombarded, she would actually still work from her basement just to deliver on time. So you can imagine her work ethics is just incredible. She lost her house and everything, but just let's not dwell on that. But just to mention the work ethics she has is incredible and very talented. But the reason I stopped working with her is that she's extremely booked, like overbooked, and it's hard to get her on time. And also she's been raising the prices more and more. And maybe I will just keep working with her if I can get any date or booking, but I will be looking for alternatives as well, which I will share with the buyer. I think that's it. Maybe I missed something. If I did, then tell me. But also I responded this question in the frequently asked questions section. So if I did forget somebody, well, it's there. It should be there. That is the main thing. And they work like on contract. Just to mention, they still work with other people as well, right? So you have to plan ahead, because they are great and they can be very busy. But yeah, there's just work contract. And something to add as well is really important that obviously sometimes you will have to maybe rebuild your team because, life happens. And I had many great writers who just couldn't do it anymore because of health issues, of divorces, of, migrations and all of that and other kind of personal issues. And then you just have to, take the loss, so to speak, and move on and look for new freelancers. But with Upwork and the premium service, which is like $20, I think it's not very expensive and it's not that hard. I will walk you through the process, of course.
Yeah, there's really some amazing content creators out there, writers and narrators and everything. So I think we're quite spoiled for choice these days.
Yeah, and also when I first started, I would be very controlling. I had this, obsession where I had to oversee everything and all of that, which when you first start with a person is a great thing to do to ensure the quality is one of the most important things, I think. But then I established this kind of trust where my editor, where I had some family issues or health issues, which I do, and I couldn't just work. I didn't have opportunity to read the book by myself, which happened maybe twice or more during the 10 years. And she would just read the books and tell me, I think this needs to be done and maybe we should add this or we should remove the chapter, and she's doing really great work, the editor.
Fantastic. Yeah. So let's have a look now at your role in the business. What does a typical work week look like for you? And how many hours do you think you're spending on the business per week?
Well, it depends whether you want to grow or you want to just maintain the business. Since it's pretty passive, it really gives you this option of not doing that much and still enjoying the passive income. So, for example, in 2016, when I suffered really huge health issues, and I just published one book, and now it's freebie, perma-free, to drive traffic because it didn't really generate great sales because I was not in my best health. But it was still, even though it was just 3 years in, one of the best years for me when it comes to income. And I was really surprised and really grateful for that option because I just couldn't work. It was very serious. So just to mention that before I answer the question, I never really, spent time with watch on hand and just, controlling exactly how much time I spend. But I would say that if you just want to maintain, I would aim at publishing maybe 2-3 books a year. They don't have to be that long. They can be just shorter, but just ensure the quality is there. And then that would really be very little workload, which I will explain in a moment. But that could be something like maybe 5 hours a week or even less, maybe 3. As well, if you have a great manager account that you trust, you could work with that person. Then you wouldn't have to do anything else than, just talking to them every week and giving them directions and plan. I did that once. It was pretty hands-off, really, but it worked until it stopped working because she was from the Philippines and there was blackouts and tropical storms as well and family issues, and then she just had to quit. But if the buyer already has account manager they trust, they could use that option. If they don't or want for any reason and they just want to do it by themselves, then I would say if they want to grow, I think publishing like really good quality books a year, like one book every 2 months, because mind you, it has to also look natural for the reader. So like if you publish like 50 books a month, like if you have this kind of budget, right, and this kind of team, that could be possible, but that would be just a little bit weird to the audience because how can one person come up with all that, right? But so I think the good target would be to like 6-5 really good books a year to grow. And in this case, I think I would spend like 3 to maybe maximum 4 hours a day. I really cannot focus more anyway. That's my personal preference. I know there's people who work like 12 hours a day, but I can't. But in this case, I would ensure that every day you check the inbox, because even though some people are panicking that Amazon is removing accounts and such, at least in my experience and my friends' experience who do the same kind of business, Amazon always sends you notice and gives you 5 days to react. Whatever they want to see, right? Copyrights or whatever that might be. And then that's one of the most important reasons you should check the inbox every day. But this is like 10 minutes, right? Sometimes I will reply to my readers to keep touch with them, to make them feel cared for. Sometimes I don't, because sometimes it's just people just asking for free books, which I cannot always provide. But this is one thing. Then I would spend about an hour on optimizing the Amazon ads, checking the targets, seeing where money might be burned, what could be optimized when it comes to bids, what new keywords could be added or anything like that. As I mentioned before, I think rebuilding all the campaigns right now. So now I think I only have like 5 campaigns on. So only the best sellers and my like favorite books have campaigns on, but each book should. I'm working on that. I will also instruct the buyer on my strategy. So that will be like maybe 1 hour a day, not even. This could also be outsourced to a manager if you can find somebody who doesn't charge too much, but maybe some professional team of some kind of marketing house or team, and you can source this as well. But my mind is pretty analytical and I kind of enjoy doing this. And then let's say you want to publish 6 books a year, which would be a good aim, I think. And it looks natural, right? Because any professional author can publish short or not that very long book each 2 months, I think. At least I can. Most writers that I know, they can. So it doesn't just look weird for the readers, right? Like you send in campaigns every week telling them there is 50 new books to read. In this case, what I would suggest is that the buyer could take maybe 2 or 3 days each quarter, for example, and just, as I mentioned before, look for the problems to solve and come up with new outlines, discuss them with the editor and the writer, right, and instruct them. And then just pay for the commission, like for the milestones on Upwork or any other platform. or outside of it if you decide so. Well, they just work on it, and you just need to talk to the editor or to the team manager if you have one or want to find one, and just oversee the process to make sure the quality is there and everybody's on time. However, I try not to be very stringent at that. Like, I try not to stress out my writers because I'm a writer myself, and I know like sometimes it takes longer. And I always tell them, like, if for any reason, like you're busy or you have health issues or anything like that, just take more time. Just tell me before, right? Because I need to plan everything. But take your time, because the quality is the most important thing, not the time, right? I would rather have you delay the process 2 weeks and come up with something great than, be rushed and stressed out and rush this and give me something that's not exactly where the quality should be. So if we take this option into the account, then you can just spend maybe 1 day, maybe, I don't know, 5 hours or 2 days just coming up with the outlines, depending on the creativity and on the market analysis that you do, and then outsource it and then not touch it other than what I mentioned. Then I would also encourage to maybe re-promote the bestsellers every quarter or such. You can plan some email campaigns with my copywriter or by yourself or even with ChatGPT, because it really has some great ideas. Like, I wouldn't use it to write for you, but it can really get creative and get you some nice ideas what could be improved, right? And just make your work easier these days. I didn't have that luxury when I first started. I think that will be it mostly. Well, just to schedule some promotions like on 4 to 5 pages and maybe pop-up ads, and just to change the price. It doesn't take much time, maybe 2 hours, maybe 3 hours a day, and that's it. I'm not great at mathematics that much, but I think it's not that much, even if you want to grow. And if you just want to maintain, as I mentioned, like even if you don't do it that much, which, as I mentioned as well, of course, it's better to publish new books regularly because Amazon likes it and also drive traffic to the website and all of that. But it's pretty hands-off business. If you have a great team in place, if you already know the process, maybe the buyer already has a KDP account or creates content anywhere else, then it's pretty straightforward and pretty hands-off. And the biggest challenge, I think, is to ensure that the quality is there. Then there is no plagiarism, I trust my team, but you should never trust with even though I trust them, and as in I know they will do the great job, sometimes, as I mentioned, my health didn't allow me to work, and so I just trusted my editor. But still, every single time, I really encourage to be in accordance with Amazon Terms of Service. This is how this account is 10 years old, and nothing ever happened to it. And just to upload the books to PlugScan or any other service, just to make sure there's no plagiarism or maybe no quotations with no sources on them, because Amazon doesn't like it. And that will be it, really. If there is anything else that maybe I forgot, I will surely walk the buyer through the process, but that's the gist of it.
Fantastic.
For the buyers who already have KDP accounts and managers, can be really hands-off and a great addition to their income.
Yeah, it certainly sounds like a really great passive business. When it comes time to selling the business and sitting down with the buyer, would you commit to a non-compete agreement?
For sure. I actually want to start another account, but the niche would be very, very different, not at all related to self-help or spirituality or even clothes. Like, it's totally the opposite. Almost, it's a very different thing. So no problem with that, of course. Like, I wouldn't want to sell and then create competition for the buyer. And also I will be there for any kind of, guidance or coaching or questions, no problem.
Perfect. Yeah, well, that leads nicely into my next question, which is, how much support are you willing to offer the buyer?
Yeah, so I think I already answered sort of, as much as they need, really. Of course, it will be easier if the buyer already has experience with content creation or maybe already worked on Amazon, no matter if it's KDP or, low content KDP or maybe Amazon FBA, which I played with a little bit some time ago. It would help, but even if they have absolutely no experience, I'm just willing to be there for them. As I mentioned, I want to focus on my new business, but I'm willing to offer any guidance that they need at any time. So that's assured from my side.
Perfect. And would you be open to negotiating something like an earn-out agreement?
To be honest, I would rather not, because as I mentioned, the biggest reason for selling this business, because I could as well grow it. I named many strategies and many growth opportunities in the frequently asked questions section. And there is more. I didn't list all of them. I'm willing to share more strategies and options, but the main reason for me to sell this business at this time is that I really need cash because I've been presented with some really interesting real estate opportunities. And also I'm switching towards brick and mortar more and more. Like after 10 years of online business, it gets pretty boring, or I just think I got burned out, and I would rather work with people in real life, maybe in real office, or build something where I live. Anyway, I just need cash to invest. I also want to buy Bitcoin because I'm a strong believer in the Bitcoin. I have many ideas on my mind, and for this I need cash as soon as possible, to be honest. And also I'm very bad at multitasking, which is another reason for me to sell this business. Even though it's like my baby, you could say it has my name on it, like not exactly because it's pen name, it's changed, but it's similar, right? It's got my photo on it, so it feels like selling my baby to some extent. But basically, first of all, I need cash. And then the other reason is that this account is over 10 years old. It's got proven track record for each and every month of sales, which can be checked at any time. And I think that's a very strong basis for the confidence. It's got a long history of steady sales on a big platform that keeps growing. And I think that should spark some confidence in the buyer. So if I could avoid this kind of agreement, if possible.
Yeah, absolutely. Fair enough. Well, Jan, that leads us into the final question of the interview. So if you had to put yourself into the shoes of a buyer, why do you think your business is a business worth buying?
As I mentioned before, there's like 10 years of steady sales. Of course, there's fluctuations like in any kind of business or market. It depends on US economy and global economy, right? On wars and conflicts and chains of supply and such. But it's been steady, even though I didn't work that much. And I only have like 35 books in the catalog, which it's pretty low number of ASINs of books. But the income is still pretty steady. You can go back, you can log into the account and check each and every month. So I cannot even hide anything. Then the Amazon is the world's biggest store, and it just keeps growing and keeps expanding to different countries in Europe, in Asia, right? And every day there is more and more accounts and more opportunities for growth. There is also other platforms that grow, and they also believe they provide really great options. Like I decided to go back to the KDP Select program, which is Amazon giving you some promotional options in exchange for being exclusive to their platform. So most of my books are, again, because I'm just testing out new strategies and Amazon advertising options. But if you decide not to be exclusive to Amazon, you can just grow on other platforms. And if you take a look into the spreadsheet, you will see that at one point. And it was totally passive. I just uploaded the books. I think it almost got to $500 on Draft to Digital or Google. I don't even remember right now. But there was no promotions, no nothing. I just uploaded them. The audiobook market is growing heavily, as it's growing a lot each and every year. And also, as I mentioned before, there is no chain of supply, no logistics that can be broken because of lockdowns, of COVID, of wars. Like even if there is huge disasters, you can still sell your products. There is no inventory to be worried about. I also tried Amazon FBA, and I didn't like the fact that sometimes you have to pay up front. You need bigger quantities of money to invest. Sometimes it's like piles of money because there are some products that you can't really order in small quantities. You need to order an entire container, for example, of 5,000 units, which with print on demand on audiobooks, like you don't have to do anything really. You just provide the great content. You just play along with Amazon rules or any other platform's rules, provide original, great quality content, and they should be well and growing, right? So this is it. Other than track record, and I think Jeff Bezos being a business genius and Amazon growing every year and expanding and providing new options and new opportunities. There is, I think, very strong base that I created of people who have been reading my books for 10 years now, sending me emails and telling me their life stories and thanking. And the open rates are pretty good. Also, I'm going to clean the mailing list to improve them very soon. The business is pretty hands-off, really. Like, as I mentioned before, even if you decide to grow, you can grow, I think, pretty easily. with not that much work and stress as compared to, for example, even Amazon FBA or any kind of, business that needs inventory and logistics and bigger teams and customer support. Also, Amazon acts as a customer support as well. So you don't need a call center, or you could have a VA, obviously, to make the readers happy, which can also be a good option. But, it's less resource heavy, more hands off, with the proven track record and all the new growth opportunities like AI and TikTok and all the new social media platforms I didn't even really have time to explore sometimes, and new publishing platforms as well. Like, for example, Draft to Digital wasn't there when I first started, but then you realize, like, you just create one book, like one ebook. Then you have 3 products at once because you have ebook, you have paperback, and you have audiobook, and it doesn't really cost you that much more. It's like, maybe $200 more to multiply the same product again, which is great, which I really love this. And about this type of business, you can always create different products based on your books, right? You can create YouTube channel, you can create TikTok channel, as I mentioned. You can create an online course, the mailing list, about 70,000 people. It will be a little bit less because I will be cleaning it soon, but I imagine 16,000, 15,000, but it grows. You can provide more lead magnets and grow it even more and even faster. There's so many options to grow. I could talk about it a really long time, and I will, to the potential buyer, of course. But I see this as a very sure and safe business as long as you play along Amazon rules and don't try anything funny, like plagiarism or AI books and all that. Even though, as I mentioned, AI can really help with getting creative and title creation, like not exactly like writing for you, but giving you options, giving you ideas, giving you good stories to write about, And all these options when I first started, and this is really great that these are available. And somebody might say, oh, but AI will destroy the market. I don't think it will destroy the market. I think it will help. Okay, maybe the threshold of entrance is a bit lower right now. But first of all, most people never put their head into the business, really. Most people, I think, they just look for shortcuts. If your heart is in there, if you're just a good entrepreneur, really wanting to always provide great content and help people, I believe every entrepreneur should, then I think growth options are really great and really passive. And I think AI can really help us as well, because now you can, as I mentioned, create way more content on many platforms. Like before, that would need a big team, right, to create graphics for TikTok or Instagram or YouTube. Now you can just write by yourself or outsource it or have AI help you, and then create something original out of it, mix some ideas and just create these short content, short videos for TikTok that are very trendy right now, or YouTube shorts, and you can just use a part of book that you already published, you already paid for it, so you don't have to pay anymore. And you just republish some golden nuggets or ideas, right? And you can produce lots of content and value every day, and free, right? Which just wasn't the option before. So I think there is way more growth opportunities than before. The only challenge is to really play along the Amazon rules, and make the platform happy, or any other platform that you might use, and you should be all right and have a great business that keeps giving and keeps growing and just, keeps helping people, which I believe is very beautiful and important, because there is many businesses you could do that make great money and hurt people, and which I wouldn't. And this actually helps people, and I'm actually proud of that. So I think that would be my answer.
Yeah, absolutely. It certainly sounds like there's a lot of growth levers that a buyer could pull here. Well, Jan, thank you so much for coming onto the podcast and giving us a little bit more insight. Yeah, absolutely. It's been an absolute pleasure. And I appreciate you taking the time out of your day.
Thank you as well for your time. And again, any questions, any doubts, I'm here to respond any questions and anytime that any buyer might need. Thank you.
Wonderful. All right, everyone, thank you so much for listening. To learn more and see if this listing has already been sold, head over to empireflippers.com/marketplace and search for listing number 74810. If you're watching this on YouTube, click the link in the description to go straight to the listing. Once you've unlocked this listing, you'll be given everything you need to know about this business. So until next time, enjoy your digital journey.